Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to An Hour to Kill, the only podcast where we take an hour of your time talking about horror, and we probably, spend it on you watching TikToks. Just completely into the void, scrolling through TikTok. I'm your host, Dory Hadaholic Brown, and I am joined, as always, by the immortal Damon DB Weathers. Damon, what's up, sir? How are things?
I'm on my fourth cup of coffee and it's 7:30 at night where I'm at. That was probably a bad idea to pour that last one.
Oh boy, you're gonna have some night. For a little bit of context for everyone, we just actually filmed another episode, episode all about David Lynch. I haven't decided which one I'm gonna put up first. We'll see, but this is our second one, so bear with us a little bit. Also joining on this one once again is the wonderful king of Mokingdom himself, Mokey. We still rocking over there, Mokey?
We are just chilling right now. I have not had any coffee, so I will be very ready for sleepy time. Maybe not, though, because I might get scared thinking about this movie again.
Yeah.
So this might not be a good idea.
It's going to work as a natural caffeine for us all. The movie we are here to talk about today is Talk to Me, a recent release from A24. We all decided we were going to do this David Lynch episode together, and it just turned out that we all happened to watch Talk to Me around the same time, and we all really enjoyed it. So I was like, fuck it, let's talk about this movie. I don't expect this one to go the full hour. We'll talk about it as much as we need to, but this is a great movie. It's original, it's scary, it had despair and dark vibes to it, and it's kind of what I like out of horror. So I was like, we're gonna do a little bit of a special episode on this one, and yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna do. So this is, like I said, we did one episode before our Beau Was Afraid episode. There's really no format to these. There's no rhyme or reason. I do have some special episodes planned for the future of next year that aren't exactly horror related, but we'll get there when we get there. And unfortunately, one next month, which I'm not going to spoil, but that's coming too. All right. Damon, are you ready to go?
I would say, just to reiterate, I know we always let people know that we're going to spoil the movie, but since this one's a lot newer than anything we've covered, we're definitely spoiling the shit out of it. So if you haven't seen it, fair warning.
Yes, no, absolutely right. There's lots of spoilers. It's a short movie. Go support horror. Go support A24. It's actually doing very well at the box office, so shout out to that. But definitely go support this. Mokey, you ready to go?
I am very ready.
Perfect. Then I'm going to start the timer now. And we are talking about Talk to Me, directed by Danny and Michael Philippou. Do anyone want to say that? Am I saying it right?
Probably you're just yeah.
Sure. Starring Sophie Wilde, Joe Bird, Alexandra Jensen. When a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits by using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill until one of them unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. Fun fact, the brothers wrote an entire story Bible for this movie, and we are filming this beautifully because they literally just announced a sequel for this movie. And yes, a lot of that's probably going to be in there. So, Talk to Me. Yeah, this is the new A24 horror movie. I got a chance to see it in an early sneak preview near me. I wanted to see it a second time. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to yet, so we'll see if I can make it out to theaters. But if not, I pre-ordered the 4K Steelbook already for it, so we're going to be covered there. Which, I love that hand. That hand is so iconic. Looks
I want one for my desk just to have at work.
Right? Like just the actual hand itself would be great. But yeah, so with the Beau Was Afraid episode, we kind of just want plot by plot, story bones. This is going to be a pretty chill conversation about the movie. I'll just quickly kind of go over why I liked it and then pass it off to you guys. But yeah, to me, this movie was super original. I thought it was scary. Again, my favorite thing in a horror movie for me, what makes, it elevates it for me and really kind of sticks with me is just a sense of dread, a sense of despair, a sense of just kind of mean-spiritedness. I love those things in a horror movie. And this one's got kind of all of that. You don't get the typical happy ending that a lot of horror movies seem to have these days. I'm just fucking remembering now too. I was going to do a gag at the beginning of this show and say this was a smile special episode, but god damn it, I forgot to do that.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed in myself.
Just
That
like
would have been funny.
I forgot all of Smile.
Fuck. Oh, I'm just remembering this as I talk to you. Fucking long day. God damn it. Oh well. Anyways. But yeah, no, really great ending, and just overall creepy as hell. And I really dug this movie. It was great. And I think the fact that it's getting a sequel is cool. I don't know where they'll go. I don't know if it's going to be the same quality, but they hooked me with this first one, so I'll be there. Damon, thoughts on the movie?
Man, I haven't watched the movie twice in theaters in a long time. I actually can't remember the last one I did watch twice. But I saw this twice. I saw this at an early screening also, and then I was so into it, and I knew my wife would dig it too. So we went opening weekend, and to support. I know the brothers got this made in Australia for like $4 million with the Australian Film Fund and all that, and then A24 bought it and distributed it stateside. But fuck, man, I was just impressed, and I've got a long list of what I was impressed by. But to your point, that sense of dread, the effectiveness of how the suspense was built up and ratcheted, and the payoffs were good, and the acting, especially from Joe Bird as a first timer, was outstanding. A lot of the Australian Film Fund movies, and this isn't to knock them, I love Predestination, Daybreakers is fun, they all look cheap. There's just a weird digital look to them, and for this movie to be substantially cheaper, looked amazing. I just really fucking impressed, and we'll get into it, but really impressed.
Mokey?
Yo, shout out fucking Daybreakers. Thank you, Damon. That movie fucking bangs.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's not like a great movie, but it fucking rocks. So shout out Daybreakers. But anyway, yeah, talk to me. I very much enjoy this movie. I haven't seen it a second time yet. I want to. I've been busy. Sue me. But I was also lucky enough to go to an early access or whatever pre-release screening that the brothers were actually at.
Nice.
So they did a short Q&A after. Unfortunately, the mic of the interviewer was not working. So this fucking guy. Also, they're okay. I love the Music Box Theater, the theater I commonly go to in Chicago. But whenever I've done Q&As, they like. The people asking the questions are just not that great. But anyway, this guy's mic didn't work, and he was like, "Oh, I'll just project." And then he went to like basically just like mumbled to the brothers, so it was hard to tell what the questions were. But the one thing I do remember is it mentioned they said, yeah, they wrote an entire like story mythology Bible behind the universe, and like probably presumably every character's origins, backstories for everybody, backstories for the hand, the spirits, whatever, everything. And I think that's something Sam Raimi did for Evil Dead as well. I think he has a
whole Bible of the world,
mythology thing. So they have done that with this movie, and I think that is stuff that will come into play in the announced sequel. But I think what I really like in this movie is how they didn't put any of that bullshit like in the movie. There's no like, you don't know at all where the hand came from. Like, I feel like it doesn't over-explain anything, which I think is a big trap of like modern horror movies. It's like you get the whole origin story of the evil entity, and like it used to be a good person, and then like it got kicked in the stomach, and now it's like a demon that wants to kill everybody or whatever. So I really like that element. The movie is just very focused on the characters and kind of the horror unfolding, not like the minutia. Very low reliance on jump scares. I think it has maybe 2 moments of kind of like a standard loud music cue and shocking image type jump scare, but pretty much everything else is they kind of just present the horrific things right to your face, and it's scary enough and unsettling enough that it's still very effective. So this movie very, very much gelled with me compared to like other modern horror movies. I'm not going to say
likewise.
Yeah, no, it's fuck off. It's really great. What I really appreciate about this movie, and we'll kind of just start jumping all over the place now wherever we want, and so I'll take it here. when I watched the trailer for this movie, which I'm a trailer whore. I know a lot of people don't watch the trailers and avoid the trailers. I can't help it. I watch trailers. I enjoy it. And I watched the trailer for this. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I like this. What I noticed after watching this movie is that Joe Bird's character, Riley, is almost completely absent from the trailers. You don't see anything about him. You
Oh
get
yeah.
no hints about him. And he is maybe the best part about this movie. Like, he's so good here in this role. He has one of the most important and disturbing scenes in this movie where he just basically just starts caving his own fucking head in and then rips his eye out.
Oh my god, how
Which is
visceral is that?
Yeah, that is a hard fucking watch, that scene. Let's just take it there. What did you guys think of that scene? Because that's the standout scene for me in this movie.
When that starts happening, I've in about a 10-second span, I went from, oh my god, I don't think I can watch this movie again because of how visceral that is, to fuck, I can't wait to watch this movie again. I was so in and out of that. God, it was so, it comes out of left field. And you're like, oh Jesus. And it's just, they do it so well. But both those sequences, that one and the one where he's in the bathtub and he's just bashing his own fucking head against the wall.
Yeah, it's the physicality of the act. Joe Bird, is that his name, right? Joe.
Yeah.
His physicality is so good, and there's multiple times where he has to like full send it and like just beat the fuck out of himself. And I remember as soon as that, because that's kind of like the big switch of the movie. I guess you'd say like kind of like a critical moment, tone shift in a way.
Oh yeah.
Is when he just starts like beating the fuck out of himself. And I remember I was thinking of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, actually, at the part where like it gets wildly brutal. And I was specifically thinking of when Brad Pitt is bashing that woman's face into the fucking mantle. And I just remember when this was happening and talking to me, I was like, damn, it's like just that type of brutality. Fantastic, but I had the same thought where it's like, fuck, I don't know if I can watch this again, and then you kind of just get like encaptured by it.
My head went straight to Alex Wolff in Hereditary, bashing his head into the gas.
Yeah, right.
But this was like more extreme. It was like, oh fuck.
Well, I was a little bit annoyed. I won't say annoyed, but I was a little bit skeptical because a lot of people kept mentioning Hereditary before this movie came out. And, as we all know from episode 1, Hereditary is my favorite horror movie of all time. But, although I definitely don't like this as much as Hereditary, I understand those comparisons because you kind of got that kind of dark vibe to it. Mm-hmm. It definitely feels like a sense of hopelessness, because, she's not getting away from it. To kind of follow up on that, one of my other favorite scenes in this movie, and it's kind of one of those scenes where it's like, you tell more than you show, but you show just enough to scare the shit out of you. And that's when she gets that glimpse of him in hell. And it's such a quick scene.
Fuck.
And it's funny. I saw a couple people online complaining, like, oh, I wish that scene was longer. This is clearly cheap budget issues. But I'm like, no, that's what makes this scene so good to me, is the fact that you barely get to see it. And it's fucking horrifying. That really worked, and I was like genuinely creeped out at that scene.
That makes me laugh when people say they automatically go, "Oh, it's obviously a budgetary issue," and it's like, actually, they shot that whole sequence in a fucking hour. You're telling me they couldn't have shot 3 more hours? If they could have, it's just I think they were smart enough and ahead of it enough to know we're not going to show it as much.
Yeah, that seemed incredibly purposefully edited to just be. It's so like in your face, and it's there for so long that it's like the fucking Tyler Durden effect where you're like, what the fuck did I just see him like flash on screen for a second? Like,
yes.
It doesn't let you actually take in what you just saw, but at the same time you're trying to like fill in the gaps of what you just saw. It's incredible.
People, I swear, people just want to jump on anything and try to look smart a lot of the time when it comes to movies and just shows in general. I still remember with The Last of Us, people were like, "Oh, that giraffe was CGI'd, and it's a fucking real giraffe at the Calgary Zoo." Like, you guys fucking don't know what you're talking about. And yeah, like obviously there was no budgetary issues here. It was very clear the intent that you're supposed to be scared shitless of what that was. Like a shot of his fucking soul getting ripped apart in hell and him getting eaten and who knows what else, man. It was horrifying. It's one of those terrifying. You could probably look at that scene a few different times and catch something different each time. It's terrifying. But yeah, like, so the hand, how iconic and cool is this hand? Like, and it's so smart. And I want to kind of draw upon bodies, bodies, bodies in particular, because I feel like that's another horror movie that did a good job with the youth like kind of
Mhm.
aspect of it and making it feel very authentic.
Oh,
And well,
yeah.
that one was more poking
More
fun at the
satirical, yeah.
Zoomers. Yeah, that one was poking fun at Zoomers, but it felt very authentic to that kind of younger generation. And so did this. Like, I feel like there, like, anyone can relate to this. And like, if you went to a childhood party, like, yeah, you'd fuck
Oh,
with that
yeah.
hand. Like,
Hell
oh
yeah.
yeah, of course you would.
Yeah, the vibe. We're finally we're in my domain now because the brothers are both the same exact age as me. So it's cool to see people of like my age now, kind of being more prominent in the space and like getting to tell their stories. And I think yeah, with bodies, 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 the Zoomer element, I guess, is like kind of the whole social media aspect where it's like okay. I mean, the whole, every horror movie has to be allegories. So the hand is like drug use. It's probably a lot of things, but in the party element, it's for like hard drugs.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
you have people, somebody's like, oh man, like you got to do these lines of coke, and like somebody Snapchatting it and like posting on their story. Just having a wild fucking rager. But the hand is such a little clever device to kind of like represent that element and like even when and we can I guess it's good to just like go right into the fucking possession kind of like the possession scenes, the first kind of like party moment.
Oh yeah, the very
Incredible.
effective ass jump scare too.
Oh yeah, that is one of the few very like pure jump scare moments. But yeah, I love the vibe of the first kind of like party scene where they're all circling up to like take turns with the hand, and a very very fun music choice too. It's very well edited, well shot. It's probably one of my favorite scenes of the year in any movie I've seen, just because it's like it's weirdly so fun.
Oh,
Like you
yeah.
forget that like kind of the implication of what the fuck they're actually doing.
Well, and to your guys' point about not holding the audience's hand and spoon feeding them everything, the lore is fleshed out in 2 lines, and it's I don't know, it's some fucking medium's hand that was embalmed, and then you never hear about it again. You don't need to know where it came from. You don't need to know why it's able to channel spirits. They give you one kind of reason why. It could be correct. It could be fucking bullshit for all we know, but it was enough for at least for me to just go, oh, okay, I buy, I'm in. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, and it's not really important in the movie. Like, does it
It's
matter
not.
where the fuck this hand came from? No.
No,
Like,
it's
we're still.
the Stephen King line. Like there's a monster in the lake. People care. They don't care about where the monster came from. They care that there's a fucking monster in the lake.
No, exactly, and it does a great job at that. I think this movie. But yeah, no, the party scene was great. I agree, Mokey.
I do like that it has the element of like, yeah, the hand just kind of like it gets passed between people, and it has that telephone effect of like you don't know what information is actually true, what was like kind of spruced up. So
Oh
it
yeah.
is kind of the same thing, like just going back to the drug allegory, where it's like people were like, oh, just take this, like you'll have a great time or whatever.
The brother in the beginning, right? I mean that if that doesn't make you think, oh, his brother must be high when he goes to break down the door and pull him out, like that's where my head went. I was like, oh, he must be high or something, right?
Incredible. The cold open of the movie is
Oh fuck.
incredible, and it instantly like shows you kind of the potential brutality to come in the movie. Just because it's another dude, the party scenes. Every party scene is just a banger. They have banger music choices, like just the vibes. Of the parties are great, and then they just like turn the switch on you and like just make it horrific within a sheer moments.
So, a quick little note about the plot here. We basically got Sophia Wilde, who plays Mia. Her mother's died. She's obviously having a tough time coping with it. She obviously has a very bad relationship with her father. They don't talk at all. So she's basically become the adopted daughter for Jade, who's played by Alexander Jensen. And then, of course, the fantastic Miranda Otto is here as well as the mother.
She's so
And
good.
she's great. She's fucking funny in this movie as hell. But yeah, so and she ends up coping and basically kind of going away with this hand and doing that more than she should, and that kind of, she holds on to it longer than she should. There's a rule basically where I think it's, what is it, 60 seconds you're only supposed to hold on to it for?
90 seconds.
90 seconds. Okay. Anything longer than 90 seconds, what happens? Well, they want to stay. And again, very, you don't get a lot of explanation, but that's what they say. So you kind of get this thing where she lets it stay a little bit longer than 90 seconds. And they're like, oh, are you okay? Like, you were longer than 90 seconds. She's like, oh, I'm fine. But then it starts to kind of bleed, like they are kind of lingering, and it starts to bleed into her reality. And you start getting lots of different crazy shit. I do want to shout out one scene, since we were talking about some of the humor in it. And I think it's played by Otis Daniel. I think that was the boyfriend of Jade in this movie. But when he takes the hand and basically he starts making out with the dog and he gets really horny, fucking hysterical. Like, that scene was so fucking funny. Because I wasn't expecting that. You're expecting horror and fear and tension in that scene, but you get anything but, and it's fucking great.
So I actually felt more uncomfortable watching that dog completely just tongue him than I did most of the movie.
Yeah, that was like, I almost had to pull away there just because they were really going for it.
Well, it's a very good subversion of expectation, to quote a famous director, because come on, what are we expecting? We're expecting that dog to get fucked, right? Like, I mean, that's what I was expecting. I was expecting that dog to get absolutely fucked, but now he just, he's a good boy. He just fucking makes out with the guy for a little bit and then gets locked away.
I breathed a sigh of relief when they took the dog out of the room and shut the door. I was like, oh, he's gonna be fine.
Yeah, like the only animal that gets hurt in this movie is the fucking kangaroo, which I swear they just did that to show that this was in Australia. There was no
pretty much.
Yeah, the accents didn't give it away, so they had to show that.
Oh, I actually, man, some subtitles would have helped for this movie, because I don't know what it is, but I cannot understand that Australian accent half the time. Like, I mean, I got most of it, but man, when they're talking fast or something, I don't know what the fuck they're saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I want to shout out kind of the cast as a whole. I don't think there's any weak link, really. Every kind of character that is involved with the movie, I very much enjoyed. All the actors' performances. Usually I feel like in horror movies you get a couple people that are like more phoned in, but I mean, between Mia and Riley, Daniel, and then what's the girlfriend's name? Jade.
Jade, the sister. Mm-hmm.
Like, Jade and Daniel, their whole dynamic, they have a whole like subplot going on. You have Mia's whole thing, and then like there's kind of a weird triangle between like Mia being so attached to Jade and her family, and Daniel and whatever. So just that whole dynamic is very good. It feels very natural. And then the actors that played kind of like the ringleaders of the hand, the keeper of the hand,
they were great.
Zoe Tarakis and Chris Alacio, they were so fun. They were just like the classic cool people that, like, run the show. They have the hookup and are like, the ringleaders or whatever. They were just always fun on screen, and just definitely probably the standout performances for me outside of Riley.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a testament to the directors. Like, I think also because their age, right? They're a lot closer to this,
right,
to the youth than, if fucking Billy Friedkin made no, rest in peace. Sorry, Billy. But yeah, I think that's what's especially impressive. Is like, man, everybody in it is so good.
No, I agree. And to your point, Mokey, about phoning it in, you've got Miranda Otto here, fucking Eowyn from Lord of the Rings. She could have easily phoned it in, but she's hilarious in this movie. Like, she plays the perfect overbearing parent. Like, she's so good here. And
they didn't pay her much because she's listed as a producer on it. So she probably took some credit and a like day rate and a flat and just took it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, like, she's great.
Her lines are all very funny, just because she's that like bitchy, overbearing mom and like thinks she knows. She's like totally knows what's going on. She's
but like, does it?
So when's the party tonight?
Yeah,
and the whole part was so funny,
but not like unlikable. Like, nobody in it was unlikable to me. Even Haley, where you're like, oh, you're kind of a bitch, but you're still cool. Like, I'd still probably chit chat with you and have a drink. Like, nobody's unlikable.
No, I completely agree. Everyone in this movie was really well acted. They're likable. I've always said, like, horror and comedy just go so close together, right? And that's why there's so many good horror comedy movies in general. But they just there's just a thin line dividing them, and I feel like like all the best horror movies will have a couple moments where you can just have some levity and just laugh, and they definitely do a good job at those moments in here. And then, we'll kind of fast forward a little bit to the ending. I feel very, very stupid for not figuring this one out. It's kind of one of those ones where it happens and it's like, well, fuck yeah. Like how the fuck else was this movie going to end? Of course. Of course. But basically, so Mia's like full in her possession now, which by the way, now that I think about it, Mia, I wonder if that's like a little not Evil Dead too. Seems like a lot of that kind of bullshit here, but anyways.
Oh.
Mia's full on like kind of losing her mind at this point. She's basically her mother, who quote unquote her mother, the spirit of her mother, is basically telling her that she needs to kill Riley now. It's the only way he'll be free because he's trapped in hell, being eaten alive, and there's nothing that she can do for him. So she ends up going to the hospital, luring everyone away, grabs him, takes him in a wheelchair, and basically you get this shot where she's gonna kind of push him like off into the side of the road and kill him. But she doesn't. She ends up basically having enough control to kind of jump instead and kill herself, which she does, kind of ends her own life. And then you kind of get this weird montage of her, like, if I recall, it's just like kind of her walking through like an empty hospital and chasing after her dad, and the elevator slowly closing. She can't get to her dad in time, which by the way, her dad might be dead too. We don't know. She shanked him with scissors. He probably is. But she gets there, and then you kind of get a shot of her being the demon across the table with somebody else grabbing the hand. Now, is it the same hand? Is it the other hand? We don't know. But very, very cool. Like kind of how you kind of get that first shot of the jump scare of Mia looking across and seeing, a spirit there. And now the movie ends with her being that spirit. Really messed up, really dark. Definitely kind of makes you feel like shit a little bit, but brilliant in my opinion.
How back to when she throws herself in front of the cars, how fucking, for two first timers, how awesome. Yeah, how awesome is it that they said, well, anybody can throw a body in front of a car and see it get fucking nailed. Why don't we just mount a camera on the inside of a car that veers off the side of the road and gets into an accident? I thought that was fucking genius. That was great. I was because then you're sitting there going, wait, hold on. Wait, I didn't get to see because you had so much carnage leading up to this point. You're just kind of assuming that's what you're going to get again. And to pivot and make that decision to stay in the car of some random passerby essentially, and then cut back to her. I thought that was super cool. It's just creative. It's just another way to do it that I thought would have been phoned in or somebody with less experience wouldn't have thought to do.
Yeah, that the shot of the actual like getting hit by the car, I remember just being there's so many like shocking moments towards the end of the movie, and it never pulls any punches, which is really great.
And to your point, Dorian, when and I tried to see if I could catch this the second time we watched it, when her dad's walking away from her, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, you stabbed him in the fucking jugular. We saw blood coming out. There's no way he's alive. But, you see the family take off on the right. She walks. She sees her dad getting to the elevator. I kept trying to see if the elevator, because you know how it indicates if you're going up or down. I was trying to see if there was an arrow pointing up, because to me that would have meant that he is dead, but he's leaving that purgatory spirit world and going to heaven, right? Or going in any direction, really. And maybe that's me looking too much into it. But I tried and I couldn't find the arrow on the second watch. I was like, fuck.
That's a good idea. I never even thought to look about that. But yeah, I think that kind of lots bits open a little bit for interpretation. What do you think, Mokey?
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, and just kind of the whole lead up to the ending. The whole, because Mia's whole thing is she's chasing her mom's spirit. She gets addicted to the hand because she wants to keep talking to what she thinks is her mom, and that's even vague too. If like. Oh, yeah. What even the spirits even are. Like, is this even her mother? Is this a spirit posing as her mother? Because they can just make themselves look like anything. You don't really know. But so she keeps using the hand, and eventually, like the whole scene where her like dad comes up to her room as she assumedly getting like attacked by another spirit. And however that editing of like her going to stab the spirit and then it like ends up being her dad, right there. That was just super effective to me. it is even still ambiguous of like if he survived that or not. So, um, I definitely need to rewatch and just see what more I pick up in the end. But um, the movie definitely never lets up at any point. I feel like it just keeps ramping up to the climax.
That if I can gush about one thing, it's, and you know me, you give me a 3 hour movie short of Inland Empire, right? I'm already rolling my eyes because not a lot of movies earn my 3 hours. I just feel like, fuck, do we need to be indulgent, or what are we going to do? This is a lean cut of meat. It's an hour and a half. There's no superfluous bullshit. There's no fat. It's just everything serves the story and keeps going. And I really enjoyed that about it because when it did, I mean, it flies. The pacing's great. When you get to the end of it, I was like, "Fuck! Oh my god!" It ramped, it ramped, it ramped. You're done, and that's it. You're in and out. We didn't need any more, and I respect that. I love that it was a lean cut of meat. There wasn't any extra fat. It really felt like everything that was in it needed to be in it.
Yeah, I generally I don't mind longer movies. I do agree that a lot of them do feel indulgent. You can definitely always cut some stuff, it feels like, from it. But specifically for horror movies, I definitely am more of the opinion, leaner is better.
Yeah.
It's very rare for me to find a horror movie that goes beyond 2 hours that manages to still keep holding my attention through it. I have no idea if those rumors are true of Five Nights at Freddy's being 3 hours, but if that's true, Jesus fucking Christ. That's literally all I have to say about that, because I don't understand how that's possible.
Let's fucking go, baby. Make it 5 hours. I don't care. I will fucking be there.
1 hour for each night.
Yeah, 1 hour for each fucking night. If it is a 3 hour cut, I am watching that shit, and maybe we'll do a fucking episode on that one too.
Matthew Lillard is there. I am showing up.
Yeah, fair. I mean, Matthew Lillard is fantastic. Shout out Blumhouse, man. Always keeping us on our toes.
But yeah, talk to me. I agree. It definitely is on the side of like it left me wanting more. Like you could tell as it's like coming to the ending, and you're like, "Fuck!" Like what's gonna happen or whatever. But then you get that last shot, and I think personally, I mean, I'll always be in the camp that like this movie does not need a sequel. They announced a sequel. I like the directors. I like the movies, so I'm not gonna write it off, but I don't need to see more, but I want to see more. But like, so we'll see, whatever. But
I'm more curious about the prequel they shot. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, yeah. They did shoot a prequel, which I don't know if that's like a lead up to the cold open scene or whatever, but it is kind of like the Ty West like movie prequel sequel thing. So I don't know what's going on there. So we'll have to see. I'm interested, but I'm not like I don't know if I'm sold.
Well, and they're shooting Street Fighter, so it's like, when are you guys making the sequel?
Well, to me it's interesting because I'm kind of in both camps. I definitely will see a sequel. I'm excited for that. I think there's potential there, but this is also, and I don't think A24 would do this, but this is also something where I wouldn't want to, see like a part, Saw 7. Like I don't want to see Talk to Me 7, Too Talk, Too Furious, right? Like I don't want to get crazy with that.
Too Talk, Too Furious.
So I don't want to get fucking wild with that, right? Like I'm very content on this being a standalone movie because it was fantastic. So if we continue to go down the route, and I mean, it's not going to ruin anything for me if the sequel sucks, but it would be disappointing because the first is just such a tight, lean, great movie that you don't want to ruin that because it was immaculately made.
I totally agree. Like it too actually hurts it one for me.
Dude,
oh yeah,
don't even get me started on that movie. It's okay. It'd be like if they made sequels to like The Matrix. It would just completely ruin like the legacy of that movie.
Exactly,
like, kind of the masterful craft that the Wachowskis put out in that world in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine they make a Godfather Part 3? Like, what kind of nonsense would that be?
Yeah,
like, why would they smart about things?
Why would Coppola do that? Come on.
But no, like for real though, like you do want to be careful with that sort of thing. Now, I will say, and even me, I know you love Pearl, Mokey. Have you seen Pearl, Damon? I'm curious.
Actually, no. I have seen X. I really like. I like X. Me and Ty West have a love-hate relationship, but I like X. I do want to see Pearl.
I'm very curious in your. Yeah, I love Pearl.
Yeah, and I'm more cool on it. Although I do think it's a good movie. I don't hate it. But I will say that the A24 bought me a little bit of hope there with that, because the H1 that was smartly done. They were, even if Pearl I didn't enjoy it as much as X, it's still a quality movie. So I feel like they're not going to just greenlight a sequel for something if there's not something there. That's my hope. And now I know Talk to Me did really well at the box office. It's poising to be like a top 5 A24 release, so good for it. So it could be financially related, absolutely. But I feel like, since they had a Bible and they had ideas and they did a prequel, they're not just rushing to do this because it's making money. I hope there's some creativity there, and that might just be cope, but it's my hope.
Yeah, I think the biggest saving grace to that for me is as long as those two are still doing it, because this movie just feels like they gave a fuck. They really gave a shit. They made a movie that their heart was in, and it's so transparent. I've seen too many horror movies in the last decade where you're just like, oh, well, that's kind of, as a movie, is phoned in, and the passion's there. And if they're involved, then I'm definitely going to come back around for it. I'm with you, though. I'm like, I don't necessarily need it, but I'll give it a shot.
It's very cool to see. I don't know if you mentioned in the beginning, but the directors are like YouTube guys. They started as like YouTube.
Yes, Call of Duty.
I personally, I haven't seen any of their content. Actually, I should go check some of it out, or some of their videos or whatever. Is it mainly like it's like basically short movies, right?
Yeah, to my understanding.
Sketches. Yeah, they were called Raka Brothers. I know they did lots of stuff with Call of Duty. So like, I don't know if it's like highlights or clips or what they did, but they have a big following amongst the COD community, which is wild to me.
So I bet it's very interesting going from like making YouTube videos regularly pipeline to then like making kind of more. It's not Hollywood, but like what are Australian Hollywood movies. And kind of, I remember just in their Q&A when they said that they got to premiere at Sundance, and then eventually they were getting the call from A24 like we want to buy and distribute your movie, and then it was pretty cool because they were kind of gushing because they were like, oh, like Jordan Peele texted us, like we went to dinner with Ari Aster. I think they said even Sam Raimi like hopped on a call with them and like gave them props.
Sick.
So just a very, very cool come up, and they seemed like very cool, genuine dudes.
Yeah.
It seemed like they had a very good rapport with each other as well, which I assume they were basically talking about the filmmaking process, and they were like, yeah, we really didn't have like too many disputes with each other. Like we both kind of very much know how we want everything to be, and they're basically like the best part about having a brother that you're on a wavelength is it's like it's almost like you have half the responsibility now as a director, because you pretty much have a second you to go and do handle the sound or the editing while somebody is handling set and production and what I'm not a movie guy, so Damon would know more, but they basically described it as having, I think they're twins. I think they're twins. Yeah. So they also have that like extra wavelength connection, that twin connection.
That weird Bluetooth or some shit they have.
Yeah. So they basically they made it sound like they just had a blast with the process, which is awesome. So it'll be cool to see what else they do.
I did hear that they said, who did I hear this from? Basically, they were offered more money for the film, but I'm sure it came down to a control thing. I think A24 probably said keep it as it is, right?
They made that, okay. I'm glad you said that because they did talk about that in the Q&A too. Is that it was shopped around a little bit, and they said like A24 approached us and didn't like they were totally on board with the vision and didn't want us to compromise at all. So they seem very happy with that too, which. Shout out A24.
You'll watch this movie eventually, Damon, but when you watch Beau is Afraid, you'll realize they just kind of let you do what you want there at A24.
Oh, yeah. Well, when your name's Ari Aster, yeah, they let that guy do whatever he wants. I mean, shit, what was that movie, $80 million?
Definitely a higher end on the budget for sure.
I respect it, man. I mean, and the two guys being from YouTube, I've worked with... I can't say who. I'm not going to say who. I've worked with a few people who got their start on YouTube, kind of very similar to these guys. And I'll be honest, out of the three, One was a fucking complete blowhard and had no idea what they were doing, and it was apparent, and everybody on set was kind of talking among each other and laughing at him. It was like, wow, if the guy wasn't a blowhard and would just take suggestions or lean on the crew that was surrounding them, this would be a decent product. And then I've worked with another who was the same thing, extremely green, but was very eager, wanted to learn, picked everybody's brain, and it was like, you know what, I respect that person. They may not have a clear vision, but I respect that they're trying, and they understand that they're surrounded by people that have been doing this for years. And so I've always been really lukewarm, just based on some bad experiences about YouTubers turn full feature directors. And not saying it's not possible, we just saw it happen, but these two completely changed my stance on it, and I'm a lot more open now to meeting directors that are from that medium.
Yeah, after we go off the air, you got to spill the tea on that one, Damon. I'm curious.
I just might.
But yeah, go ahead, Mokey.
It'll definitely be interesting, kind of seeing the years to come, because you're going to have more people that started from a more, I guess you could call it like a viral space. I feel like, because you'll have YouTube creators, TikTok fucking 5 years you'll have like, oh, this director was a famous TikToker and made TikTok shorts, and now they're making a Hollywood. And so it'll just be interesting to see people from those worlds kind of make projects and kind of see what they're. I feel, I mean, as cringe as you can say YouTube content and TikTok stuff is, it's definitely an aspect of filmmaking and storytelling, and there's like a perspective there that has something to offer in Hollywood, I guess.
It's another way to do it. It's you're so right. I mean, this is just, it makes it so much more accessible than it used to be, and theoretically it really should only raise everybody else's game, because now there's so much more competition out there.
It's easier now than ever too, I feel like look, we memed about it at the start, and I know you guys aren't a big fan of the movie, but even looking at something like Smile last year, where Finn Parker, he's done a short, he did a short movie, he took this, they were going to do it as a direct to streaming thing. They put some good marketing behind it. I enjoyed it. And how much money did that fucking movie end up making?
Jesus,
an insane amount. So it's just there's such an appetite. I feel not only people are getting back into the theaters. Thank you, Barbenheimer, but especially I feel for horror. Horror's always done well in theaters, and people are just starved for anything original. And A24 doesn't have the marketing budget, but the fact that Talk to Me has done as well as it has, it's surpassed all expectations at the box office. Stuff like that is so cool for me to see, and it just, the next horror could be anywhere. Like, you don't know who's gonna make it. It could be a YouTuber, it could be a fucking TikToker, it could be literally anyone. It could be one of you listening to this right now. Probably not, but could be. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up, I think, pretty quick. I mean, we still do have 20 minutes, but like I said, we're not gonna badger on if we don't need to. So I've kind of said my piece on this movie. I'll toss it over to you, Damon. Do you have any kind of final things you wanted to mention about this movie or talk about?
I mean, I think I gushed, man. I was really, again, just, it's effective, it's fun. One of my favorites in a while, and one of my favorites of the year. I'm definitely buying it, and the ending, they stick the landing. That's a lot of horror movies have been kind of lacking in that department. So, and you touched on it, but I just want to reiterate, like, the ending was, I thought was done well, and I'm really curious to see how these guys' career trajectory goes now. And I'd love to meet them. So hopefully.
That's an incredible point about the sticking the ending, sticking the landing for the ending, because that's in horror movies that's never a given. You get a lot of bad fucking endings for a movie. What was the one I just watched recently this year? The Boogeyman, which I actually didn't mind it. I thought it was okay. Ending sucked though. So I mean, there you go, right? Like, it's just so common for these movies just to kind of just drop the ball. And to your point, I'm going to be very interested to see these guys' career unfold, because I think you're going to get you might get a similar-ish trajectory to Ari Aster, where I don't know if these guys are going to stick around in horror for long. Like, they might do this Talk to Me prequel, sequel, but it sounds like they're working on Street Fighter. So they've a lot of talent there, and there's a lot of different things they can do, and I think that'll be cool to see.
Yeah, that could be a fresh voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Mokey, final thoughts?
Yeah, it's a super strong directorial debut from these bros. I very much like this movie. I'm very excited to get to watch it again and really like solidify my feelings. I feel like it's one of those, like, I feel like I like the movie more than like maybe as good as it is, but it is really good. And so yeah, I'm super excited to see what other uh, movies these guys make, and I'm just happy to see more people of my time kind of entering the space in like big ways like this, and excited to like get my generation's perspective on the big screen. It's always interesting to see.
Yeah, as a boomer, I can't relate, but I'm happy for you guys. All right, well, we're gonna wrap her up right there. The demon, we can't let the demon stay. We have to let it out. So if we go too long, it'll linger around and won't want to leave. So we got to stop it there, guys. Great discussion, guys. I really appreciate you both being on here for this. Like I said, we've kind of gushed over this movie, and I think you kind of said it best, Mokey. Like, in terms of the actual, whatever quality, quote unquote, of the movie, like, I might like it a little bit better than it actually is too. But I just think there's something to be said for an original horror movie that, has a good atmosphere in it and sticks the landing. So if you want to support original horror, please definitely check this out in theaters. It's doing well, so it's probably going to be there another, week or two. So, check it out. But yeah, that's it for today. For myself, Damon, and Mokey. Bye.
Watch out for them kangaroos.